Imagine walking into a grocery store and reaching for a carton of Fairlife milk, marketed as healthier, more ethical, and better than the rest. You pay extra because you believe in its promise: higher protein, less sugar, and overall a better product. Now, what if I told you that that premium milk, backed by Coca-Cola, was at the center of one of the most disturbing animal cruelty scandals in modern history? That behind the sleek branding and billion-dollar success was an industry secret so horrifying it sparked national outrage, lawsuits, and boycotts. This is the story of Fairlife, a brand that rose to the top of the dairy industry, only to be exposed for something far darker. How did it all go so wrong? And why, despite everything, is Fairlife still thriving today? Let's break it down. Fairlife was founded in 2012 by dairy farmers Mike and Sue McCloskey, who wanted to revolutionize the industry. Their idea? A filtration process that made milk ultra-filtered, removing lactose, increasing protein, and reducing sugar. Unlike traditional milk, Fairlife boasted 50% more protein, 30% more calcium, and half the sugar. It wasn't just milk, it was super milk. And with Coca-Cola investing in distribution, Fairlife had the kind of backing that most brands could only dream of. It hit the shelves with a slick, modern design and premium pricing. Consumers were sold on the idea of better milk, and Fairlife quickly became a massive success, reaching over $1 billion in retail sales by 2022. But behind the success, there were cracks forming, and soon the brand's entire reputation would be shattered. In June 2019, everything came crashing down. Animal Recovery Mission, an undercover activist group, released damning footage that exposed horrific abuse at Fair Oaks Farm, a key supplier of Fairlife dairy products. Fair Oak Farms, located in Indiana, was one of the largest dairy farms in the US and had long been promoted as the gold standard in ethical dairy production. It even ran an agro-tourism business, allowing the public to visit and see what was marketed as humane and state-of-the-art farming practices. But behind closed doors, the reality was far from the idyllic image Fairlife had sold to consumers. Through an undercover investigation, ARM sent an investigator to work undercover at Fair Oaks Farms, and what they captured on video was nothing short of horrifying. Brutal beatings. Employees were filmed punching, kicking, and throwing calves, some only days old. In one instance, a worker was seen repeatedly slamming a baby calf onto the ground, trying to unalive it. Many calves were left to suffer in the scorching heat without food or water. Some died from heat exhaustion or dehydration. Others were seen lying lifeless in the dirt, ignored by workers. Dead calf disposal. The footage revealed employees piling up dead calves like garbage, tossing them into makeshift pits. Some calves, still alive, but too weak to stand, were left to die slowly. Drug use and laughing at abuse. Workers were seen smoking marijuana and joking about the abuse while on the job. At one point, an employee was filmed force-feeding a calf until it collapsed. This wasn't just an isolated incident. It was systematic cruelty happening behind the scenes at one of Fairlife's most trusted suppliers, and it directly contradicted Fairlife's carefully crafted image of being an ethical, responsible dairy company. When the video was released, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Consumers who had once trusted Fairlife were horrified. The company had built its entire brand around the promise of better, more humane dairy farming. Their slogan, "From grass to glass with care," suddenly felt like a cruel joke. Within days, major retailers like Target, Jewel Osco, and other grocery chains pulled Fairlife products from their shelves. Social media erupted with outrage, and #BoycottFairlife began trending. Petitions calling for a complete boycott of Fairlife and Coca-Cola gained tens of thousands of signatures. The scandal wasn't just about public perception, it had real legal consequences. Class action lawsuits were filed against Fairlife, Fair Oaks Farms, and Coca-Cola, alleging that they had misled consumers by falsely advertising their commitment to animal welfare. One lawsuit, filed in Illinois, argued that consumers were defrauded into buying Fairlife under false pretenses, believing they were supporting humane dairy practices. Another lawsuit claimed that the scandal violated consumer protection laws, as Fairlife's marketing created an illusion of ethical sourcing. By the end of 2019, Fairlife and its parent company had agreed to pay $21 million to settle multiple lawsuits, but for many this wasn't enough. So what was their response? Was it too little too late? Well, in an attempt to control the damage, Fairlife released a public statement condemning the abuse and announcing that they had cut all ties with Fair Oaks Farms. They also pledged to implement new animal welfare policies, including more frequent third-party audits to prevent abuse, mandatory training for all workers on humane animal handling, live camera monitoring on farms to ensure compliance. Coca-Cola, which had a massive stake in Fairlife, distanced itself from the scandal, claiming it had no prior knowledge of the abuse. But for many, the response felt hollow. How could a company that prided itself on its ethical farming not have known what was happening at one of its biggest suppliers? Many former Fairlife consumers vowed never to trust the brand again. The fallout and attempted comeback. By the end of 2019, Fairlife was in damage control mode. Lawsuits were piling up, major retailers retailers had pulled its products, and social media was flooded with calls to boycott the brand. For many companies, a scandal of this magnitude would be a death sentence, but Fairlife had something most brands in crisis don't: Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola acted as Fairlife's corporate lifeline. They had invested heavily in Fairlife, and despite the scandal, the beverage giant was not willing to let the brand die. Instead of distancing itself, Coca-Cola doubled down and took control of Fairlife's future. In 2020, just months after the scandal, Coca-Cola made a bold move. It fully acquired Fairlife, buying out the remaining ownership from the original dairy farmers. This was no small deal. It meant that Fairlife would no longer be run as an independent dairy company. It was now a fully owned subsidiary of one of the most powerful corporations in the world. And with that came resources, strategy, and an aggressive push to rewrite Fairlife's story. Rebuilding trust, the PR makeover. Fairlife's new strategy was clear: get ahead of the controversy, rebrand, and wait for the outrage to die down. Here's how they did it: cutting ties and fixing the problem. Fairlife announced it had completely severed ties with Fair Oaks Farms, the source of the animal abuse scandal. It implemented a 5-point animal welfare plan that promised more frequent third-party audits, hidden cameras inside dairy farms, zero tolerance for abuse. This was a calculated move to show consumers that Fairlife was taking accountability without admitting full responsibility, flooding the market with new products. Instead of letting the scandal define them, Fairlife released new product lines to shift the conversation. They introduced protein shakes, coffee creamers, ice creams, and snack-sized bottles, all marketed towards health-conscious consumers. The strategy? If they could reposition Fairlife as a nutrition-focused brand rather than just a milk company, they could attract a new wave of consumers who might not be aware of the scandal or simply didn't care. Retail push, back on the shelves. By 2021, Fairlife products had quietly returned to major retailers that had previously dropped them, including Target, Kroger, and Walmart. Many stores reintroduced Fairlife without any public announcement, betting on the fact that consumers' memory is short. The unbelievable comeback. How Fairlife thrived after the scandal. While some brands never recover from major scandals, Fairlife somehow managed to not just survive, but thrive. By 2023, Fairlife had hit a staggering $1.3 billion in annual retail sales, a number even higher than before the scandal. Coke's support. Coca-Cola's aggressive marketing and distribution efforts ensured Fairlife remained dominant in the dairy industry. Even as the plant-based milk trend exploded, Fairlife's protein-rich formula kept it in high demand. Consumer apathy and forgetfulness. Perhaps the most crucial factor in Fairlife's resurgence? Time. While some consumers never forgave the brand, others either forgot or decided they didn't care enough to stop buying it. Many new consumers, especially younger ones, had no idea about the 2019 scandal. Fairlife today, a tainted yet thriving brand. Fairlife's reputation may never be fully repaired in the eyes of those who remember the scandal, but for millions of consumers, it simply doesn't matter anymore. The company still faces criticism, particularly from animal rights activists who argue that the dairy industry, no matter how ethical it claims to be, still involves systematic cruelty. Fairlife remains one of the most profitable dairy brands in the US, proving that even the most explosive scandals can fade away with time, corporate power, and smart marketing. So, did Fairlife really change? Fairlife's comeback raises a difficult question. Did the company actually learn from its mistakes and become a more ethical brand? Or did it simply wait out the outrage and use corporate muscle to clean up its image? Regardless of the answer, Fairlife's story is proof that in the modern corporate world, no scandal is too big to survive if you have the right backing. Let me know what you think. Do you still purchase Fairlife products? And as always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. And be sure to check out some of my other videos as well. Thanks.